We don't have a new for 96 Slack because I guess we could just text, but whatever.
A team of two.
Yeah. um, well, our guests always insist on being informed of what humiliation might be up ahead, and we only tell them seconds before. I guess we could involve them. No, that takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, we want the spontaneity.
Yeah.
So how do I
Yeah.
sound? Okay.
You sound okay.
Okay.
You can use some of that for banter.
New for 96. With your hosts, Kevin McCauley and Chris Nguyen.
Do you think if you had watched Frasier like out of sequence,
Yes.
because you know how it played a role in your taste,
Yeah. This is true. There's a direct correlation.
what if the first episode you had seen was Frasier driving an E65 7 Series? Like, would that discredit all of his
Oh my
furniture and
God.
art choices?
Maybe. Yeah. Probably so. I think I would have lost all faith
Yeah, that's
in
fair.
Frasier's taste. But he didn't start off with that. I guess he had nowhere else to go. As far as like a car choice goes, because he was staunchly always a BMW driver, and
Yeah.
Niles always a Mercedes driver. So you can't
But I mean,
deviate.
so he had an E39, right?
He had an E39, but he never had. I guess he upgraded to the 7 Series.
Yeah.
So he never had a chance to have the E38. I feel like that was too fancy for like his.
The E38 was too fancy, but he had an E65.
I think because that was at the end of the that was last season, right? So that was
Yeah.
he had like I guess because did you notice on the show that like every year he got like a 25% like pay raise, which is like who gets that? So maybe by the end of the show, like 25% every year for 7 years or 8 years is pretty significant. So maybe he could finally afford the big one,
Yeah.
as Niles says, describes.
Right.
Because they could have had him in an E60, I guess.
I think that might have come out like, I think that might have been released like when the show was ending or over.
Maybe mid 2000. So 2002 was when E6. Oh, 2003 was the E60.
Okay. Well, but I mean, it might not have like been on sale until like late 2004 or something here.
Maybe this is
I
what
don't
they
know.
talk about on FrasierTalk.net,
I bet.
the forum. I bet. Yeah, we can start up the car section.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. This is terrible. Delete this tape. No one is to know.
Or one step ahead of you.
Yeah, the nerdery that we get into with Frasier. But that show is the reason why I bought an Eames Lounge eventually. Like, I pined for one throughout high school and college.
Pine. I thought it was Rosewood.
Well, that was the perfect
I'm
Frasier joke.
leaving that in.
And canceled. Yeah. Anyways, Kevin, hello.
Chris, hello. What are we
How are
doing
you?
here?
I don't know.
Why are we talking on this?
Why are we FaceTiming it like we normally do, but with mics? It's really hard to say.
Could it be
Another episode
of
New
New
for
96?
96. Yeah, I wasn't really sure if you're going for the every other word or
Yeah, that didn't really
harmony.
work so well last time. So yeah, we
It
didn't
really
harmonize.
did not.
We didn't.
We don't
harmonize.
choreograph well.
Did you listen to the last episode?
I did listen to the last episode.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
I listened to every episode.
Okay.
Asterisk other
Yes.
episode. Yeah, no, it was great. Thanks again, Brad, for being on.
Yeah, it was much more informative than usual.
Yeah, there were a lot of facts.
Yeah.
On that ep. So.
I don't care for the facts so much, but you know.
Yeah.
We'll
People who know what they're
fill
talking
that in.
about. Is that what you're getting at?
This one will all be subjective, wrong opinions.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, welcome to another episode. We are, of course, remote recording once again, but uh, I I'm really surprised at the quality that comes across like over Zoom. We said
Yeah,
FaceTime, but it's actually Zoom because they have like there's an uncompressed quality
we're
option,
really in
which
the
I don't
weeds
think
here.
anyone knows about.
I don't
Um,
think we should talk about the show on the show.
Fine. Is it a little too meta for you? Breaking
Yeah,
the fourth wall, as it
yeah,
was?
yeah. The fourth wall is
Fine.
just shattered.
Whatever. Um, so, uh, earlier today, I was trying to think of the director of Space Odyssey, and in my head, I kept saying Stanley Tucci's Space Odyssey 2000 in 2001. Um, and then I was corrected when the words actually came out of my mouth into someone else's ears. But I think I prefer Stanley Tucci's Space
Yeah,
Odyssey.
for sure.
It sounds so much more stylish.
hmm What is he
Um,
known for?
Stanley Tucci?
Yes.
What isn't he known for?
Okay.
Devil Wears Prada? It's the only one I know.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Laura was
And
watching Burlesque a lot, and he was in that too.
oh my God, he's been in a lot of very colorful roles.
hmm
Um, but I don't know his filmography, if you will. Um, I saw you early today. We went to uh, a friend's opening of a new garage,
Yeah.
uh, and it was really hot outside, even though it is middle of October. But
It was really hot. It was like 91 when I
yeah,
checked, and I
yeah.
think it got warmer.
Which like it's so deceiving. Like spending a lot of time inside the house now for like just quarantine. Like I keep thinking and looking out the window, leaves are falling a little bit, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be really like nice and cold when I go outside, and it isn't.
This
Uh,
past week was really beautiful weather. So it's
yeah,
deceiving, even if you were going outside regularly, it was very deceiving because it was nice. And you just assume, oh, it's nice from now on.
yeah.
And that is a wrong assumption.
That is a wrong assumption. And I always know too when it's a little too hot because I drove the Celsior there because currently the 911 is incapacitated. And when it gets above a certain temperature, I want to say like close to 90, the rear view mirror, which it's not an auto dimming one, but it has the LCD changing. It
Mm,
changes opacity, I guess, but you have to do it manually with a button.
okay.
And so it starts to like bleed, basically,
Oh,
in a very creepy way. And it freaked me out the first time it happened because I thought like it was about to explode and all the LCD, all the liquid from all the crystal was about to
yeah.
pour out.
Your mirror is like Mads Mikkelsen in Casino Royale. That's
Yeah.
his tell when he's playing poker. Is his eye starts like getting
Yeah,
like
it
a
looks kind of like
teardrop
that.
of bleeding.
Yeah, it looks kind of like that. But
Yeah.
whenever when the car cools down, it it like restores itself.
I
So
thought
I
you were
guess
gonna
it's
say
fine.
that at a certain temperature, the Celsier's second air conditioning system kicks on.
Yeah,
Doesn't it
yeah,
have like an entire separate, like an
it
entirely
does.
second AC?
It has a rear AC system that has a separate like I don't think it has a separate compressor, but it does something where it can control the temperature independently in the back seats, but it blows hot. So I actually don't know how to fix it. If anyone knows how to fix the rear AC in a 1992 Toyota Celsior, please let me know because I have no idea. There's exactly one post on a forum, and it's just a question that has been left unanswered for the last 15 years.
What forum?
I think it's on. I don't even know. It's on a Lexus forum because it's obviously a Lexus LS400. And now I forgot what it's like. Oh no, it's called like Club Lexus or something like that. Who comes up with
Oh.
forum names? Like it is like a requirement that it has to be stupid. There's no dignified one. Prius chat.
Yeah.
I
Prius
hate
chat.
mud.
Right.
Uh, the Porsche ones are no. I mean, I guess I used to go to Planet Nine, which was which was the Cayman one. It
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
and
I
then they
remember
had
that.
to change it. Yeah, because I think it used to be like Cayman owners.net or something like that, and then Porsche came down on them for using the name Cayman in the
Oh,
URL.
interesting.
Yeah, so then they called it
Interesting.
Planet 9, which I don't quite understand because
I was active on Probe Talk when I was a youth.
boy, that could go so many ways,
Yeah.
topic-wise. What is the more broad Porsche one? Not Pelican, but
Renlist?
Is it Renlist? Renlist, yeah. Yeah. I guess that's fine. Renlist.com. Pelican, is it just it's so weird that there's an entire board from Pelican parts. And then they also like I wonder if it started out small and then it just blew up into like a massive forum because it's probably the best resource, honestly. When you're
Yeah,
looking
it's
up.
crazy because you always see posts from like 2004. It's like, yeah, I picked up this SC for $7,000, and
Yeah,
you know,
basically.
it's
Yeah.
lame. It's yellow and it doesn't have a sunroof. What a bad
Yeah.
spec.
It came from Europe. Ugh, like dear Lord. Yeah. What a time to be alive, the early aughts.
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of like time passing, I've been wondering. I've been reminiscing about the wagon. My old, I should say. Like it sold in February. My
A
BMW.
lifetime ago.
I know. My BMW wagon. Reminiscing, but not missing it. I think that's one car that I don't actually miss. Surprisingly, because I think I have had like that moment where I've missed most of the cars that I've owned at some point, like regretting that I sold it. And I don't.
All intents and purposes, like your 330 was probably a better car.
It was very much so a better car. But and I guess I haven't been driving that much this year, anyways. But I mean, I enjoyed that it was a 6-speed manual, but no, I haven't like really thought about it much. Like as in like I'll see like BMW wagons every once in a while driving around, and I'll think, oh yeah, I know what that's probably like to drive, but I don't think like, oh man, I really miss like that.
Yeah.
I do miss having like a BMW though, like as a street car, everyday street car. But I was thinking about like, do you think 30 years from now, like, are we gonna look at like SUVs and CUVs because they're basically the wagons of today, since wagons don't really exist anymore. Like in 30 years, are we gonna look back like and say like, that CX5, that RAV4, or maybe like let's move it a little bit up market, like the cars that are a little bit more driver oriented, like an X5, say for instance, like a first gen X5. Are we gonna look at that fondly, like a manual one, and pine for it and pay a premium for it on future BAT?
That was a good segue, by the way. I didn't even see this coming, and I was looking right at this
You
topic.
yell at me for revealing the magic behind the show.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think in 30 years we'll be in a crumbling, smoking wasteland, and you'll need an
Yeah.
SUV for what's left of the roads.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's what our roads are like in Houston, which is why I switched to an SUV for daily.
right, but imagine worse,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is nearly certain. So, yeah,
I mean,
I think some
because
I
they
don't
are
know.
they're so wagons back in the day were, I think there were enthusiasts who recognized what a neat idea it was. Like it was basically based on a car, but with storage capacity, and it was no compromises. But 99% of people saw it as just like a family hauler, and so an SUV, CUV is kind of that now. Like I think there are some like today performance CUVs, SUVs that are cool, but for the most part, like they are kind of like family haulers, or they're not like you don't look at them and think sporty or enjoyable to drive.
I think I can't speak to like the European contingent of like that marketplace, but here the fundamental difference is a wagon is cool because they are rare.
Yeah.
Like every variant of every wagon is rare.
Yeah. So I
In
mean, in the future, when we move past CUVs and SUVs, there will be something new. Like, it will be like, like everyone's driving a Sphere now, like a Sphere with four wheels or something. So we'll look back and say like, wow, that's rugged looking, because it has a two-box design.
yeah, I think uh I don't know. It seems like with all of these things happening at once, but like battery electric vehicles, skateboard type chassis situations,
Yeah,
and pedestrian safety rules, like I think everything's just going to arrive at a current Ford Explorer shaped thing,
yeah,
like
like higher
like
up.
the Lucid Air or something like
Yeah,
that.
because I mean, like today's, SUVs and CUVs are car based, anyways. I mean, not all of them, obviously. There's still some truck based ones, and but a lot of them are car based, and so that's what kind of like mentally linked them to wagons for me. Is
I mean, car based and unibody are not the same.
no, but some of them are literally,
Yeah, some of them
like
are literally car. Yeah, but we're
yeah,
talking Rav4 and like CX5s. I
yeah.
mean, they make like
So
a million of those. No
right,
one's gonna
so
be. No one's gonna. Those are just way too common to be sought after.
we're pining after the XV10 Camry wagon with the dual wipers. I mean, I
But
say
the
pining, but
wagon
no
is
one is.
rare. It's not like there
The,
was a sedan Rav4 and like, oh,
was it rare? I feel like I saw them everywhere. I don't
hmm.
know. But so okay. Rarity is, you're right. But there were more wagons around back in the day, right? Like almost everything had a wagon variant to it. If you had a
Yeah,
sedan,
so I was one of the people that like grew up with the like stigma view of wagons
yeah.
because my mom had a Buick Century wagon.
Oh, I was about to say like my best friend growing up had a Chevy Celebrity wagon, which is probably the same
Same,
platform.
totally the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I guess you move on from there. I mean, like a Cayenne GTS manual, like will those be revered?
I think they already
Um,
are.
I was thinking about that. I don't know if they're revered, or I mean, they cost more than an automatic equivalent, but I think they're still depreciating
Hmm.
because they were once, 70, 90 grand, whatever it is, and now they're selling for $30,000 and under. It seemingly with frequency on Bring a Trailer. So, and then X5, the X5 has a manual too, first gen, pre and post facelift. Sorry, LCI. Um, those I could see like maybe eventually being valued
Yeah,
too.
I have a lot of conflicting feelings about that because that was so
Yeah,
early in the SUV-dom of BMW the that was so early in the transition of BMW to an SUV company that makes a couple cars
yeah,
that was like a fundamentally like objectively like worse 5 series that
yeah,
also was bad at doing SUV things. I mean, and
yeah.
I think they're cool. The manual is cool, and I like the way that the original X5 looks, but it wasn't like particularly great at
Oh
that.
well, one factor to that too is that and I think people, uh, this is weighted differently with people, but you can't get a rear-wheel drive one because those were all-wheel drive standard. So I think some people will value that, but like I don't think there were any rear-wheel drive only SUVs with a manual. Basically, the Dream Wagon configuration.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know, or like a 4.8 IS if you had to go with an auto. I mean, there are a lot of auto cars that are appreciating in interest as well, I guess. I don't know. I think there are a lot
But
of
I mean, is a 4.8 IS like is that special enough to justify the
I,
like
I
high cost? Like if you're gonna get a dated SUV like
yeah.
with a V8, it's like get the Grand Cherokee 5.9. It will probably give you
Ooh.
maybe less troubles.
Yeah, maybe. No, I bet you it's just as much
Oh, I'm sure
trouble
it is.
and feel like you're fixing all the same things, except that it feels crappier on the inside. I did like those a lot as a kid.
I did too. My mom had the straight six Grand
The normie.
Cherokee,
Yeah. Four
and it
liter,
always what? Yeah, 4
four
liter, and
liter.
it was
Yeah.
always like going through CV joints
Yeah.
all the time. And like it had all four-wheel drive, which we
Yeah.
never used. So if you don't use it, it just like eats itself,
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I guess.
Um, yeah, because I guess nothing like if you're not moving the components, they seize up or
I guess. I mean, that's what they told us, the mechanics, and I don't know
yeah.
if
It was selectable though, so it wasn't like full time.
no, it was four-wheel drive, like not all-wheel drive, so it was selectable.
Huh. Okay. Um, my uncle in Portland had
You had the lever on, the separate
yeah,
lever.
the L shape. The
Yeah.
L shape one next to the regular one. Was it a normal shifter like handle? Was it like a T shifter or was it like weird?
I just know it was a smaller knob. I can't remember. We'll have to look at a picture.
Yeah. My uncle in Portland had a base model 93 Grand Cherokee like with steel wheels and a manual. Uh like and he ran that up to like 200 plus thousand miles and then I think my cousin crashed it. I actually always thought even that was just like cool back in the day when I was a kid. He's had
Yeah.
some kind of cool.
I thought
He had
that
a-
was cool.
Yeah.
When my mom got it, I was really into it. Like I kind of sold her on that car.
It was the first time as a kid like I paid attention to Jeep, even though I know, like in the era, I think people looked at it as like a soft, Jeep going soft.
I actually, as a kid, I really loved the Cherokee.
Yeah,
Like I loved the Cherokee so much. I had a Matchbox of it, and
Yeah.
and so I thought that the Grand Cherokee, like I didn't like the looks at first because it wasn't like
I thought it was-
boxy enough.
I loved that everything was like flush. It looked very futuristic.
Yeah.
Um,
I grew to like it.
Yeah.
And
and
convinced my
then
mom to
it
get one.
went extremely downhill.
Yeah.
The one after that was like there was like I don't know if it was the same gen, just a facelift, but it kind of got a little bit rounder. And then the early 2000s one got puffy.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah, that one was really bad.
Yeah. Everything Chrysler touched in like 2002 to 2008
Ooh, yeah, it
was bad. Was like
very, very
I
bad.
mean, I think it's honestly, I truly think that period Chrysler is like one of the low points of car design.
it infected Mercedes too of that era. Everything became like bubbly and puffy.
But not like to the cheapness of the Dodge things where
I
it
don't
was
know.
just I mean, I'm talking about all the Chrysler things like
Yeah.
the Caliber and Nitro and just like the early Chargers and I don't know.
Oh yeah,
It was
yeah, yeah.
bad.
No, that was not ideal. So in conclusion,
Yes.
who knows? Maybe. I think it just depends on what we're driving then at that time, or if we're driving at all.
Right.
Or our self-driving cars have all killed us because
Right. I
we
mean,
were-
if gas is finite and you can only drive on like certain roads with your gas car where it costs $14 a gallon or something, like are you going to want to drive this uninspiring SUV?
yeah, yeah.
Either a modern fast one that you feel nothing or an old one that's like worse than its car counterpart.
Yeah, yeah. We'll
I don't know.
see.
I mean, I honestly don't know because I mean, if you took that argument I just made to its logical conclusion, it's like, oh, why wouldn't you drive an Ariel Atom? Why would you drive anything
Yeah.
that's not an Ariel Atom or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Why would you drive
right.
an M5 if you could
'cause
have a two-seat car that's more
inexperience, yeah. Unless like gas is so rare then that you're forced to drive a fuel efficient car because gas is so precious.
connected? I guess
You
the
don't want to use it
question
all
is
up.
the question is what CUVs and SUVs like deliver an experience that's noteworthy enough.
That's a good question because the thing is, because I think there's a current argument going on, or at least if you're on Twitter, sometimes about the purpose and existence of SUVs and CUVs versus a car. And the thing is, through computers and technology, like you can make an SUV perform pretty well. Like the Cayenne is pretty good. Like, and like if you, I guess the question is, I mean, like the idea is stupid that you're overcoming like weight, with
I,
technology.
I think the only CUVs and SUVs that you'd want are something that delivers a very unique experience, like
Yeah.
an
Well,
old XJ Cherokee, not because it's fast or has good dynamics, but because it's different, because it has bad dynamics,
yeah. Well,
or a
that feels
G
like a
wagon.
truck. Yeah, that
I
feels like
think
a truck.
anything that's like a 2007 or newer SUV or CUV or something that's like a fast CUV is just going to feel. I mean, a
Is
modern fast CUV doesn't feel like anything. You have no
was that?
steering feel. It's fast and
Yeah.
extremely
No,
dull.
no, I completely agree. Like, I mean, like, I don't think anyone's gonna want to pile into like a Dodge Nitro or like what is a car today, SUV today that would just be bland. I mean, like any Infinity SUV.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the draw though, isn't it? Like, I think that people like where cars are appreciating. You hate this because we talk about this frequently, but like Land Cruisers. Uh, Land Cruisers are old cars, no matter how you look at them, even today. Kevin hates when I talk about Land Cruisers, because I don't know why. Um,
It's just like very.
what, Kevin?
It's fine. We've covered this. We've covered this. I like when one goes on Bring a Trailer for very expensive. Like I don't care.
I know, but I send you the links anyways. Um, but it's the same thing with the G Wagon. It's the same thing with like, I think the cars that are the SUVs that are appreciating right now are the ones that are truck based, or uh, I don't think Cayenne manuals are appreciating right now, but um, I think people value like that old, like what you were saying. But I'm just reiterating what you're saying. Basically, is that like people value that kind of old truck feel, which
Mhm.
I think up until like the 200 series Land Cruiser, like it kind of has an old truck feel where you run over things and the whole body kind of jiggles.
Mhm.
But yeah. So I don't know. I'm making a note now to check back in 30 years, to see where this conversation has gone.
Yes.
So
Well.
yeah. But on that note too,
Yes.
about people. So there is, of course, again this current argument for against CUVs, SUVs. I say let us relent to our cargo carrying overlords and accept them. They are here to stay. They are the future. Every car sold is going to be that Ford will no longer have sedans. They'll have the Mustang and then SUVs.
Right.
Um, so okay, so there's that. The other thing, like, so why do people in the U.S. I get why people like we've just we've determined why people fawn over wagons, but then people fawn over diesel wagons, and I'm not quite sure. Like I've never been able to get on board with this
Just
idea.
diesels in general, and
Diesels in
it's funny
general.
because I heard Richard Porter's podcast with Johnny Smith. They were like two Brits
Yeah.
openly discussing like how ludicrous it is that Americans like lust after diesels because it is like the economy version. Like
Yeah.
people in Europe that buy a diesel, and this didn't I didn't even really this didn't really I know so little about diesels that it didn't really
Yeah.
I didn't really get it until hearing this, but like they get the diesel for because the fuel is expensive or it's a tax thing or whatever, but like
Yeah.
no one wants to get the diesel. It is objectively worse to drive.
It
It
is.
will go far on
It
gas, but
sounds
like
terrible.
yeah,
Like
it drives in
the
an
power
unnatural like
delivery is
yeah.
weird. Yeah. Like the thing is, like, I think if you ask anyone who's like, "Ooh, diesel wagon," like, I'm drooling right now. Why are you drooling? Because the only reason why it exists is because it gets 30 miles per gallon versus the gas equivalent, which gets 24.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, unless you're towing things all the time, it doesn't make any sense to pine over the diesel version of anything. I've never sound
Yeah,
like
I think it's just the forbidden thing.
I guess the only one I will say, my only hypocritical choice, uh, is the V10 Touareg because I
Right.
do think that is kind of cool that they made a V10 period. So that it's a diesel, I could care less. But that was a V10 in this tiny mid-size SUV was cool.
definitely.
But beyond that, like it's just beyond me why we fawn over it. I mean, like forbidden fruit is fine. Like we'll fawn over like subcompacts that people were embarrassed to buy in Europe. And we like the it'd be cool if we had like an Alfa Romeo. What is the small one? I forget what it's called, but it was basically a Fiat rebadged as an Alfa. Like that would have been kind of cool to have here if you had to buy a subcompact. But other than that, like as far as a powertrain goes, uh, we're living in like car heaven in a way, because our gas here is relatively cheap, so we can actually have petrol cars. So I don't know. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. No, speaking of forbidden, I saw like a Renault today after I was
Oh,
leaving. After I saw you earlier, I
yeah.
saw a Renault SUV that was
What?
like a modern, like up from Mexico or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I can't. It might be the Renault Capture. I'm not exactly sure. I can't tell from a very cursory Google search. I used to see a lot more cars from Mexico. Um, like
It's
interesting cars.
been a little unfriendly in the last
Uh,
four or so years to cross the
yeah.
border.
Remember when we went to Radwood in LA and we saw that one series like hatchback?
Yeah, that was really cool. There's
Yeah.
actually around my
I've
neighborhood.
seen one in Houston before.
Oh, really? I've never seen a one series here, but
The 5-door.
yeah, the hatchback. But I have seen like in my neighborhood, someone lives, I guess, drove their A1, Audi A1 up.
Oh, I do see some of those.
Yeah. It may be the same one, I don't know. But it's such a good looking little hatchback. Like
Yeah.
it's futuristic looking too. I don't know why, because it's so like smooth, but smooth and round. But that's kind of cool to see, and it's also kind of weird that Mexico gets these cars. I bet you they get the cool Land Cruisers down there too, Kevin.
Oh, yeah. They got the Focus RS back in
Yeah,
the second generation Focus
yeah.
RS.
But alas, I guess that makes sense. In California, you'll see cars come up from Mexico as well. I'm surprised we don't see more, I guess. I mean, I guess I don't know how if you're driving I don't know if that would be considered higher end, but a nicer car. Um, what that means if you're less likely to be, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I guess it's been like 10 years now and I've never told the story on the pod, but the Focus RS thing was when in like it must have been 2010, Jalopnik posted about like you could buy this, the bright green Focus RS, that generation. Like it was for sale at a dealer in Mexico City and you could just buy it on the continent. And they posted about it. And so a guy in Chicago bought it. And
Whoa.
because he had like some businesses in Mexico, so he had, ways of getting around the registration. He had a
Yeah.
car collection in Chicago. He bought it there, drove it to the border, and drove it into Texas, where he let Matt Hardigree from Jalopnik drive it, and
Oh
I
yeah.
photographed it. And it was because Jalopnik had run the post. That's how he found out about it. So he's
Yeah.
like, "You guys want to, drive it and do a thing about it?" So, and then he bought everyone lunch at the Salt Lick, like
Wow.
us, and he invited like the local like Focus Club,
Oh,
which
that's
was
cool.
just really cool.
Yeah.
And then he drove up to Dallas and then he shipped it to Chicago. But yeah, it
Oh
was a
wow.
super cool car. So I rode in it. I didn't drive it, but it was
Yeah.
extremely cool.
That is really cool.
The funny thing is, in the parking lot at the Salt Lick, there was a DeLorean, and everyone was losing their minds over that, and no one really cared about this like bright green Focus
Economy
RS.
hatchback.
But I
Do you
mean,
think
it
it's
looks impressive.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, it totally does. I was thinking about this today, and I think you saw it as well. But there was like we were driving back from uh the event today. There was that yellow Kia Rio or something. It was just like a very bright jelly bean of a car Do you remember that? We were on. Anyways, it just kind of got me thinking about like colors. Like, I'm surprised that they offer like the cheapest cars in the brightest of colors because it just calls out that car so much.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the buyer, it's a younger buyer. It's a younger
Maybe.
buyer starting their career or whatever, and they're more likely to get an adventurous color. And to them,
I
it's
think
not. To them, it's not like, oh, I'm buying this like shitty car. To them, it's like I'm buying a new car, like a brand new car for me in the color
yeah.
I want.
I'm curious, yeah. I mean, I wish more people would spec yellow, honestly, because now I want to buy used cars that are yellow. Certain ones, not all of them.
Collectively, we have
No colors.
no colors.
No,
Collectively, I don't know how many cars we have collectively, at least 6, and we
Yeah.
have no colors.
no, not a color. Like, I want a color. I've wanted a color, and I never find a car in a color. I've black, silver, and
we've
gray.
got the grayscale spectrum.
We
Like,
really do.
nailed.
So the thing is that like only one of my cars would look good in yellow. Can you imagine a yellow, basically an LS 400,
Yeah.
or a yellow Land Cruiser? That would be a lot.
What if your Land Cruiser was tan? What if you wrapped it in tan?
I don't know about that. Because a lot of them were gold.
No, I mean like flat tan.
Oh,
Like
yeah, that'd be cool.
Like the
If I-
one that Andrew Collins drove in Africa.
Yeah. There's one like around my neighborhood that was repainted that color, an 80 series though.
Oh, I've seen
I don't,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think my car would look good in that. I don't know. I think it's such a big car, like a subdued color kind of works with it.
Tan's pretty subdued.
Maybe like a beige. Well, but this one's the LX 470, not an actual Land Cruiser nameplate. So I don't know why. Like I like maybe an actual Toyota would look good in that, but I feel like it's a little too much for an LX.
Yeah.
I don't know. Chrome maybe, all chrome,
Yeah. There you
gold,
go.
reflective maybe. Yeah. I had in our list of topics here the ID4, but I don't now recall why I had because we put it in like a few days ago or a few weeks ago.
It was because of the badge placement, but I don't know what else you wanted to say.
Well, I think at the time, because I think I put this in like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but
Yes. Because the badge had a weird space.
I texted you about that because we both have like design backgrounds, and I had an issue with the way that they had kerned the lettering for the badge. But also the ID4 is cool though. Like,
Yeah.
it looks really good.
Yeah.
So I hope it does well. I mean, no one knows anything about it actually, I guess.
I think
'cause-
people in Europe are just starting to drive it.
Are they?
I think
Okay.
so.
But the ID4 badge, yeah, is just very badly laid out.
It is.
In that
The ID3, the interior, I hated like the look. I didn't see it, but I mean the look of it looked like they spray painted a clay model of an interior gray. Like it just looked
Oh.
like very bad plastic. It
yeah,
looked
yeah.
very poor.
Well, that is unfortunate.
I think the ID4 resolves some of that.
Yeah, it's good because it's not boring, but it's also every line makes sense. It cannot offend, I feel like,
Right.
and not necessarily in a boring way. So that's great for Volkswagen, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of German companies that are making questionable
decisions.
the M3 and M4 came out, and we have not really talked about the 4 Series grill, and now it's in
God.
M form. I mean, there's not really a lot to say except that I will bang this drum that the entire design is mediocre, and also the last M4 was mediocre, but the grill sucks.
That is old, not just like old news. Like that, you can't even like when criticizing the car now, just criticize the grill because I think everyone.
Right. Yeah.
Everyone
You can't
gets
say,
it.
"Oh, it's ugly." My only angle on it is the cruelty is the point.
Yeah.
I think they want it to be as awful and vulgar as possible, and like as like not flowing with the car as possible. Like it has cleavage around the badge because
Yeah.
it is like bulging out. Like there
For
is,
all the
I
horny
we
forum
maybe
posters.
we have talked about this from the concept, but I think I believe there is a way to do a tall grill on a BMW in an elegant way that would work, and they chose not
Oh, yeah,
to
no.
make
I
it
mean,
as
it's
hateful as possible.
it's incongruous. Like you cannot even rationalize your way around like that decision, I feel like. And I would actually be really curious to hear from like read a designer who worked on the project with the rationale, like how that is supposed to work with the rest
The
of the
designer
car.
of it, either the designer of it or Hooydonk, who oversees it,
Yeah.
someone said like had a comment about the 4 Series at Geneva. I'll try to find it and include a link, but basically like you have to shock people these days because of fascism.
But yeah. I get I get the academic reason why they did it. The real life application, like you just cannot like a lot of people are I think like there's a bad argument comparing it to like Bangle BMWs and how like oh yeah that was controversial but look now people like have warmed up to it but every single line on those Bangle BMWs made sense, like there was a purpose for it
It
and
really
it
was
contributed to a concept.
it really was like a futurist execution
Yeah.
of like the classic 90s ones.
Yeah.
There
Like
are some things that really work, and like the I mean it was on your car, it was on several of the cars, but the like how there was kind of like a duckbill spoiler, a very subtle trunk duckbill spoiler formed from like an arc, like two
Yeah.
arcs, I thought was just so brilliant.
Yeah, I read somewhere recently, and I may be wrong on this, but that Bangle didn't actually design the E93 series. That was essentially like the design languages are there, and then they basically pulled it together from existing design language.
The E90 had to be the most like mainstream.
Unoffensive. Yeah.
Yeah, but he designed the
Uh,
E46.
Oh yeah, that is true. No, I mean so it's wrong because the intentions for both design movements were different. One was a look into the future.
Yeah,
The other was to sell cars.
right.
And I mean like there's just like no point in like the only people who are going to argue for this are weird BMW diehards who look at the company with faultless eyes. And those are people you probably do not want to sit next to at a dinner party. So
This design, like not the grill, but the overall mediocrity. Like they lost Golson. They lost.
oh yeah,
Golson.
I know.
mean,
that is saying a lot.
friend
but-
of the show.
Friend of the show. He is an actual friend of the show.
Yes.
We got a letter, so we have to say that.
Yep.
No, but yeah, there's just no good angle, and it really does look like I don't. It does not elicit any sort of like emotion because it's just an assemblage of things that will sell a car. like it they did this line because it's very popular right now. They did this because it's gonna stand out. They did this because
Yeah.
this is what people are looking for when they spend this much money. So
It doesn't have a Hofmeister kink because
doesn't have
who
that
knows
either.
why.
Yeah.
Gotta break from tradition and make something that has no identity whatsoever.
Yeah, it's bad. Not much to say.
It is just a hateful machine. Like it is
It
a
really
hateful
is.
car designed for people that hate themselves.
I know. Maybe this is an excuse, so that they can refresh the car, an LCI, in like 2 years, and then sell more of them when they shrink the grill.
Do you think? No, because capitalist companies only think like one quarter at a time.
Maybe
That's like too long
because
term. That's too long
BMW
term.
does have a pattern though with pre-LCI, LCI.
Okay, I know you're trying to segue, but the 4 Series is bad.
The 4 Series is bad. I mean, like, what BMW today? I mean, I know this is a curmudgeonly argument, but like, it's fine. There is a market that will buy their cars regardless. And that's fine. It's just like it's now a company that produces products that no longer appeal to like the likes of me,
Right.
or you, or like anyone who liked old BMW.
Uh, I,
So
I don't. Uh, do you think? Well, before you answer this, do you
yes.
think that like the extremely overwhelmingly negative reaction, like, do you think something might change in the company? Like, do you think there might be some kind of thing? I have two comments. When I think about what would a good modern BMW look like, and I have two answers that fully satisfy me. But I think the 2013 or 2012 like Pininfarina Gran Lusso concept car was
Yeah.
outstanding. Pininfarina
Yeah.
knows how to design cars, so BMW, if you need someone that can design cars, you should call Pininfarina. But also the i8, I think the i8 looks amazing. Even if you
Yeah.
don't like the i8, it's like it says, "Get in, loser, we're going to the future."
Oh, it
And
really
that,
does.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and if that fascia, if that aesthetic was applied to every car, even the
Yep.
gas ones, I think no one would be complaining. It'd be like, oh, maybe it's
No.
not for me because it's too futuristic, but it doesn't look like this
But yeah,
whatever.
that's a really good point. Like the i8 was a really good example, and it unfortunately was like an outlier product. But like again, yeah, you're right. The driving experience, competitive, uh, whatever aside, if when you stand in front of one of those in real life, it is so sculptural, but it
Yeah,
looks like a BMW.
right.
Like
The
it has a
solution with the kidneys, like the way the kidneys are
yeah.
handled, everything is extremely cool.
It looks really good. Maybe that was part of it. Is that like instead of going vertical, maybe they should have just gone wide with the
I mean, I always
with the
think wide is
beams.
better, but I even
Yeah.
like how it's not like uh I like chrome kidneys. I'm a traditionalist, but it
Yeah.
has like
Same.
blue like kidneys where the color is on the inside surface. Like
Yeah.
it's a
It
totally
looks
wacky,
really
like cool
good.
execution, and
Yeah.
it totally works.
Yeah. And yeah, so they had the tools in their palette, but um, I hate reading their excuses. I mean, and that's what it comes down to now because they're on the defense.
Yeah.
Because no one like they're not responding to accolades. There are none to respond to. So they really are just like why look to the past for things like even though that was well revered and like they're purposeful, etc. Like we're just gonna throw all of that out and then we're gonna focus on how to sell cars. Period, and that's it.
You and I think we had like a small argument recently, and we didn't really go into it.
Are you talking about three letters?
No,
That
actually, this
what?
is actually another thing. This is like
Oh,
a segue between the segue, but about BMW,
yes,
where you were saying, I think I don't want to mischaracterize your statement, but I
yes,
think we had like a slight disagreement, a fundamental disagreement, but like it was still about you were saying like BMW has kind of sold out and gone after volume and
yeah,
sales,
yeah.
and the choices they make are because of that decision.
Yeah.
And I argued that that is not the case. That it is their they have gross BMW has gross incompetence,
Yeah.
and any sales increases that they have is just riding a wave of premium luxury SUV sales.
Yeah.
Do we
Maybe.
do we disagree, or are we on the same
I
page?
think no, I disagree. I think they're attempting to be a volume manufacturer.
I think they are attempting to be a volume manufacturer.
Yes.
I do not think they are succeeding. I think they are only succeeding by
Oh,
virtue of offering luxury
no,
crossover
yeah.
SUVs, which would sell no matter what the
I
platform was.
no, I'm board with you there. Like
Okay,
I'm
then
not
we
saying
agree.
that their formula is working. Like
Yeah, okay, then
I
we
don't think the
totally
fact that
agree.
they have like, 69 different variants of four cars is what is working. I think it's selling by nature of it's a BMW.
Any luxury nameplate SUV
Yeah,
would
and
sell like gangbusters.
did you see that Mercedes recently, like in the last week, announced that they're going to be reducing their model lineup because they admit that trying to produce the CLA or any of the A-class cars was a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah, I did
Um,
see that.
yeah, and so I mean, it almost seemed like a jab at BMW, and they were saying like they want to focus on a core lineup and making those better cars instead of producing a million different versions of a car and making them all just okay, which is essentially what BMW is doing. And I think they had the same targets, which was sell as many cars as you can instead of building upon the reputation. I mean, I get it. Yeah, from a business perspective, every car or every business has to show growth, I guess. But
Mhm.
it seems like they're trading it, like BMW is trading in. But the thing is, the formula is not even working. So whatever sales bumps they're seeing, the growth that they're seeing, it doesn't matter because I think they're going to start seeing a decline because I think the competition offers less offensive looking machines to get.
Maybe, but I mean, as far as SUVs, I think people are going to buy an X5 and they're going to buy X3s.
Yeah, that's true. Or you go to one of Mercedes's many offerings at the moment, which I guess will be maybe trimmed down. I actually don't know, because they do have like an A, B,
I don't think they'll
C.
trim down their SUV offerings.
Yeah, that's true. That truly is the moneymaker for any company.
It truly is, and offering a premium SUV right now, it doesn't really matter how good it is. Like it will sell.
Yeah, that is true. We saw a B GLB today.
GLB, yeah.
GLB. They're so generic looking now. Like, and that's unfortunate. Like we don't have to go into this tangent, but like, Mercedes, the way that they have, I don't know why, but I can't even pinpoint it, but like they look generic, and maybe it's that everyone else, like the down market a little bit, has upped the game to where now I think Mazda makes more premium looking SUVs than like at least the entry level for Mercedes.
All
Uh,
Mercedes.
yeah, or all of Mercedes for that matter. So I don't know. It's a weird time to be alive. That is for sure.
It is. Well, and like the Kia and Hyundai stuff. Like, did you see the Hyundai? I think it was the Tucson. Like, was revealed a couple
Oh
weeks ago.
yeah. Oh, that looked
And it
really
looks
good.
insane. I mean, it's so cool. Like, it's even if it's not your cup of tea, you're like, oh shit, they are.
See,
They
okay.
are like sending it. You know
You
what I
know
mean?
what?
Like, and
You're right because it's a bold design and it is what BMW was trying to do with the dumb grill, like where it's outrageous, but in
yeah,
a good way.
in a good way. It's like, oh, it's like this is a design language I've never seen before with like stamping techniques I've never seen before, and it's like
Yeah.
it's so crazy. Like they are truly sending it,
Yeah.
and I mean, if they do a sports car, it's going to be insane.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
No.
think I think that like because they've been testing that mid-engine hatchback like like they've been testing like a Veloster hatch mid-engine
Mm,
prototype, and I think
yeah.
that will probably be. I'm told that will probably be like a conventional mid-engine, like sporty car. It
Yeah.
won't be a hot hatch mid-engine, and so that's just the mule. So
Yeah.
the styling could be insane, but I mean,
Yeah. I
I
hope
just
it
like
is.
seeing the stuff they're doing. It's crazy.
I do too. And the thing is that and BMW can't claim like they've shot themselves in the foot in that they can't claim that they have heritage to consider, like where like Hyundai and Kia, they can do a new design language every year, and it doesn't matter. But BMW is doing the same thing. They've tossed everything out. This has, other than the fact that there are two separate like grill pieces, there is nothing that ties it
Right.
back to its history.
Also,
So
on the regular, especially on the regular 4 Series, like if you're going to make a grill that big, it would really make a statement to not have other inlets and
yeah,
intakes and openings in the front because it's like it's all here. You know what I
that's what
mean?
people
Like
want, holes.
Right, but no, they still have to have holes just for the visuals. So you still have to have
Yeah.
more scoops and holes in the front just
All
for
the
no reason.
holes. You
For
really
literally no
do.
reason.
Yeah,
Like when
no,
you
not at all. They don't go anywhere.
we talked about this, like if you look at there are some Mazdas, like I think the current CX-5 and 3, like where on either side of the grill, instead of like the traditional like scoops that don't do anything, like
Yeah.
it's just like surfacing, and it's
Yeah.
very refreshing. It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's very
Like
cool.
the thing is, I like that these other car companies, they're taking what people want and then evolving it into something that makes sense and that works versus just tacking it on because that's what people want.
Yes.
I mean, BMW is doing the equivalent of like uh, port events on the side of the fender. They're just tacking shit on because people want. That's what they wanted. This is what your survey submitted. Your submission was, so we put it on there. I hope you're happy.
Okay, so I've trust me, I have looked for this article and I cannot find it, but I
Yeah.
am like not scarred. What's the opposite of scarred? Where I have been imprinted with.
Embraced.
Yes. No, I've been imprinted with a 2001 Auto Week news section blurb
Yeah.
because I remember when Bob Lutz came back to GM in like 2000 or 2001 or 99, and he was the czar. He was like, yeah, they put him in charge, and he just like every stupid idea. And I think he's a cool guy, but every dumb idea he had, where it's like, we've got no money, we can't do anything. Like any change we make is going to take 3 years to do. What can we do now? And so he saw like the Maserati like Quadroporte, and it's like, oh, those porthole things, we got to add those to Buicks. Like literally, that's how it happened. Like he wanted to add hood scoops. He wanted to add hood scoops to the GTO, and the Pontiac GTO, and it was, oh, well, that's going to take 2 years. And he's like, can we add hood scoop stickers? This idea was floated, and they couldn't. They wouldn't do it, but like they did end up adding like the real hood scoops. But he wanted to add hood scoop stickers because we could do that now.
Oh my god, that is amazing. I did not know that's where the port events came from.
Yeah. It was Bob Lutz coming back, and it was like, what can we do like right now to fix these cars?
Those events only came on like a handful of those models, right? Like it was the Lucerne.
Yes.
And I don't even think I mean, like, I guess Buicks in general had them, but then it's amazing that from Buicks having them, I don't even think Maserati could claim popularizing it. I think it was Buick popularized
Probably.
the AutoZone accessory that became what it was or what it is.
So you mentioned a 3-letter word.
Yes.
What is that word?
LCI.
Yes, which means life cycle impulse, which is BMW's extremely cynical marketing term for their facelift.
Yes.
So I pose the question to you.
Yes.
What is the worst BMW LCI? What is the worst BMW facelift of all of the ones? Most of them are inoffensive.
I will say that most of them actually, I think, improve the car, and I cannot speak for any BMW past the F30 maybe as far as LCIs go.
I can't identify any BMW past F30.
Yeah. I think the clear answer is the E46 when the Dame Edna headlights were introduced.
Those headlights were bad.
Mainly because the thing is that they didn't improve anything. Like there was nothing
just made
to
it
improve.
fussier.
Yeah, like the original E46 headlight design was kind of perfect.
Yes.
And so much so that they kept it on the M3.
Yes.
And versus like say the E90, the LCI was a true improvement because they simplified, like they removed the mustache stickers and made a real kidney bean, like real kidney beans. And they cleaned up the taillights.
The mustache thing. So the grill. We're talking about how the kidney grill. I liked how on the E90 it was like inspired by the Z9, but I guess with the context, the Z9 concept car, with the context that like Chris Bangle didn't really necessarily do it.
Yeah,
and that it was just kind of like, oh, like these are some things that
I almost think it was like I. It's a nod definitely to the concept, but I almost think that was like a cost-cutting thing where it's like
No, it
we
was
have to
definitely a
carve these
nod.
two like hoops into the
No,
hood.
it was a nod.
I
It was
don't
not
know.
a cost-cutting thing.
I don't know.
I do like the taillights better on the
Yeah.
LCI.
I've had both. I've had a pre-LCI and an LCI, and yeah, the taillights are far better. Mainly because they went back to, I don't know if there's an official name for it, but basically BMW had for a very long time. Still do actually, I guess. But in their 90s cars, the side lights were taller than the trunk mounted lights. So you had like this kind of L-shaped.
The L shape, yeah.
Yeah. But then on the E90, they made it like an almond. Like the pre LCI.
Yeah,
So
they wavered in that era because the E38 and the E39 also just had like non L shaped.
yeah. Yeah, and like for whatever reason like just so in the LCI version, LCI E90, they shrank the trunk light portion, creating the L shape again,
Yes.
and it just transformed like the rear end of the car.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Most LCIs are good. E39 LCI is amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
One of the best.
Yeah.
The
Like that was when they
E60
introduced, like they revolutionized the accessory lighting industry for
with
cars.
the angel eyes.
Yeah, with the
advent.
angel eye headlights.
E60 LCI was good because the taillights got really
Yeah,
cool.
and it turned into like LED. I don't even know what to call it. Like eyelashes, I guess.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
and it looked really good.
The
Yeah.
E65 LCI kind of got worse in a way because it got too conventional.
I actually preferred it.
Yeah, probably. But it kind
was
of
just
watered down.
cleaner.
They kind of
Yeah.
watered down.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say I think the E46 is the worst LCI, but I think the E38 is the runner up because it also is like worse than the original.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm on board with you
The
there.
E38 kind of had like the scooped out headlights like the E46, but it just didn't work on the E38. The E38 was pretty perfect to begin with.
Yeah. Yo, I mean, like truly, like those are timeless designs, and I know, like again, it is like almost an old man argument, like old BMWs were the way to go. They were timeless,
If you
but
keep
they
saying
really
this,
are.
people are going to think we're old men when we're clearly not.
Clearly, we are no more than 23, give or take a decade. So,
Or
but
two.
whatever. Yeah, no. So E46, truly, like I get that they had to refresh it, and they did the thing where so BMW, and I don't know if they still do this today, and I think they do because they did it on the F30 at least, where pre-LCI it's halogen bulbs for the taillights, and then LCI turns into LED. And then for the E90, they did the same thing. They went back to halogen,
That's crazy.
and then they switched to LED. And then on the F30, they did the same thing. It was halogens to start, and then so you say that they don't have any product foresight, but they had to come up with things to change in LCI.
I liked the Z3 LCI was good.
Z3 LCI.
It kind of got the baby L-shaped taillights.
Oh yeah. You know what? I do not have enough of the details of that car memorized to picture.
I remember the LCI because they came out with new colors and new wheel designs and new engines and like minor aesthetic differences that I liked.
Yeah. No, I think the Z3 looks so good. Like like for cheap car candidate, like that would be a good choice, I feel like.
I think
And
so.
you have so many. I mean, I know they're the engine options, the preferable ones or desirable ones, but even like the original like I think it was a 1.8 or 1.9.
The four-cylinder?
Yeah, the 4-cylinder. Like it's basically in theory, more solidly built Miata. I would be kind of into that, like for I don't know, $5,000 or whatever one might cost for a whatever weekend car. But yeah, so I'll have to look up what the LCI one looks like because I don't recall.
It was mostly in the taillights, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that might be a podcast.
I think that's a podcast. Thanks for listening. Do look for us on Instagram at new496.
Send us an email, perhaps, at new496 spelled out
Yes.
at Gmail.
Please do send comments. We're tired of getting letters handwritten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have gotten so many paper cuts this month.
My God.
From the mailings.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.